My name is Carol Saunders, not Carol Short. And today I serve as worship leader. One thing I love about this church is that our members are in the larger community and through other organizations I belong to. As I participate with other UUs in the University Women's Club, or EcoCycle, Planned Parenthood, Meals on Wheels, and such as that, it is such a pleasure to live our 7 principles and thus spread our ideals actively and together. So welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Boulder. I want to take a moment to extend a very warm welcome to everyone who's visiting us for the first time. If you're joining us online, fill out a visitor form in the link of the description, and we'd love to contact you. Part of our mission is to connect bravely, and we're glad that you're sharing part of your Sunday with us. Many of us were once, too, seeking for something larger than ourselves to which we could belong, a sense of rootedness to hold us as we create meaning together. We do that well here, though not perfectly. In this congregation, we strive not for perfection, but for authenticity and connection. Whether it's your first time here to worship with us, or the hundredths, we hope that you'll find questions that stretch you, people to befriend you, liberal religious values that challenge you to join us in a loving, boldly, living justly, and welcoming radically congregation. There are a few things happening after church today. On your way out, take a schedule of events this spring that our Indigenous Justice team is coordinating, and I believe there's a flyer outside. And then our young adult group, age 18 to 35, is gathering for lunch at Walnut Cafe. They'll meet outside the front doors here at 12:15. Meanwhile, Rev. David and our delegates from last year's General Assembly are leading a workshop on the proposed revisions to our 7 principles. Have some lunch in the Sky Room and then gather back here at 12:30. Finally, at 2:30 today, our racial justice team invites you to meet them outside the Mackey Auditorium at CU for an NAACP Freedom Fund celebration.
It's a very full room. We should think about expanding. Newcomers, this is a joke. We're in the process of figuring that out. Do you know about wave pilots? I don't know if I've told you this story before. In the Marshall Islands in the Pacific Ocean, there was, maybe even up until today, this practice of piloting, of crossing the open ocean, not through navigating with charts or maps or even by stars, but instead by wave piloting. And here's how it works. When a wave crosses the whole ocean, a wave starts on one side and this huge swell goes and goes and goes for hundreds of miles, and it hits an island, this little bit of rock out there in the middle of the Pacific, a portion of that wave bounces off again like an echo. Bounces off the back wall, right? And wave piloting is the art of discovering, of learning how to feel in your body those distant reflections, so that if you're out on the open ocean underneath all of the noise and the chaos, underneath the chop and the swell, underneath all of that, At the same time that all of those things are going on all around you, at the same time, underneath, you learn to listen, to feel for what's almost a distant beat coming off, reflected from that island far, far away, almost like a bat echolocating. And the sonar bounces off, and you follow that reflection back across again. It's a hard thing to do, I imagine. One of the wave pilots talked about as a child, his grandfather would put him blindfolded on his back in a canoe in an atoll, surrounded by this low coral on all sides, to feel, not to watch, but to feel how the waves moved through and to start to learn where the sides of this thing were. It's hard to learn, hard to follow. When we talk about here sometimes love being the compass heading that we're following through the ocean of the world, love being that wave underneath all the chop and the swell and the chaos of our regular lives. When we talk about that thing being love, I do not mean like sappy, sweet, easy love. I don't mean you feel good and you like everybody. To you who are around in the 80s or 90s, do you remember Lisa Frank? All right, this is our young adult contingent remembers Lisa Frank. So Lisa Frank in the 80s, if you had trapper keepers covered in unicorns and rainbows and stars and rainbow-starred unicorns and unicorn rainbows, that's all fine. But that's not the sort of love that is the backbone wave that we're following through the world. Carrie McDonald, who's now the executive vice president of our Unitarian Universalist Association, he wrote this years ago. He said, listen, love is hard. Not romantic love, though that is also not easy. But love for people, for your human family, especially the ones who are different from you. Love that says, I see you as a person just like me. I want your unique light to shine in the world. I see your gifts and struggles and pain and passion. Love is hard. Love that says each of our souls touches this divine mystery. Love that says we are on a journey together, and my fate is tied up with yours. Your suffering is my suffering, and I cannot be free until you taste the same freedom. Love that calls you to show up. Love that won't let you go until your whole life is dedicated to siding with love. Love that makes justice. Love that changes the world. Love is hard. Do it anyway. Through storms, through darkness, when there is no road to follow or map to consult, love is the compass. Love is the backbone wave that we practice listening for through all the noise and chaos of life. Where will it lead you?
Our opening hymn this morning is number 1008 in your teal hymnal. I'll invite you to rise in body or in spirit as you feel called and able. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, without inducing panic, you may have noticed that our piano bench is empty today. Fear not. Ella Gavlinsky, our staff pianist, is dealing with some health challenges, and we're hoping that she is on her way to recovery and will rejoin us next week. In the meantime, we owe a huge debt of gratitude to Paula Staffeld, who jumped on the keys last week to help us with hymns. Thank you, Paula. And of course, having my back both weeks on very little notice and with very little preparation, our fabulous core members of the Chancel Cats, Heidi Todd, Steve Todd, and Mary Friedrichs. Thank you so much. And we are exceptionally blessed this morning to be joined by special guests Becky Root on the harp, John Cuddington on the harmonica, and Bill Gallerstein on guitar. Thank you so much for your musical support.
The chalice is a symbol of our Unitarian Universalist tradition. It is a cup of life, sustenance to quench our spirit's thirst, a cup of celebration and resolve, a flame of hope, a light to warm our souls and guide us home. And I'd like to invite Janet Evans to do our chalice lighting.
Good morning. I'm Janet Evans. I'm a member of the UUCB Board of Trustees, and I have been one of the voting delegates representing our church at the annual UU General Assembly. This June, we'll vote on the proposed changes to Article 2, which is discussed in our sermon today. One thing I love about y'all is our openness to change, to new ideas, and the animated discussions that grow around them. I just love hearing different perspectives, and it really helps me strengthen my own personal analysis. So here's a story from my childhood where I first learned to be open to new ideas, and I think it's also where my love of travel began. My family had some of the original Wizard of Oz books, and one of my favorites was The Giant Horse of Oz, published in 1928. Here's a picture of the cover of the book. That last character is the original version of what the Scarecrow looked like. The giant horse was called High Boy, and he could talk, well, of course. And not only did he have telescoping legs to traverse the mountains, he had a tail that was an umbrella. Can you see it? So if it started raining, he could put that up over the passengers. I gotta tell you, as a kid, I really wanted a giant horse. So, riding the giant horse were these several intrepid heroes journeying on a quest, and they were passing through many unusual villages. They arrived at one village. It was called Shuttertown, where the Shutterfaces lived. These were residents who literally had shutters on the side of their face. And if they didn't like what you said, they... Isn't that a great image? You know, they would just slam the shutters closed if they didn't like what you were saying. And the whole town was walled, and all the houses were shuttered, and even the hedgerows would close around the houses when things got disturbing for them. Okay, here's this. The local innkeeper was called the Outkeeper, right? Because they didn't want anybody to come visit them. So how in the world did High Boy and all the people on his back get through the village? He telescoped his legs, and he walked through the village. You know, the image of the Shutterfaces, it stayed with me to this very day. And it reminds me of people who, you know, they throw up roadblocks to change, right? They resist change. And I have to be honest, I sometimes close my shutters, right? But I have to tell you right now, I do not want to move to Shuttertown. And I hope sincerely as I grow older that I still want to explore new ideas and new places. And I remain eager to see what's around the bend. So I light this chalice as a beacon to illuminate the many paths before us and the many choices we can make.
Traditionally, rising in body and spirit, we say our covenant together, and I invite you to do so now.
Join me in a spirit of prayer and meditation. Let's start with a breath, or find a way to sit that's comfortable, a way that your body doesn't intrude too much on you. Moving into the spirit of prayer and meditation, it's a time for slowing down, for listening, for paying attention to everything that's going on within you and beyond you. It's a time when we quiet ourselves down enough to listen to the wisdom that's in you already or ready to hand. And the image I offer you this morning is the slow sunshine outside. We're in the thick of it in February now. And as much as spring seems like a possibility, it's still a theoretical possibility. We go through these cycles, sometimes even within one day or across days or weeks, of cold, 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 and then thaw, fresh snow, and then melt. And at this time of year, change is happening, but it happens by inches, by millimeters. Each day, the sun gets fractionally longer, the light infinitesimally brighter. These days, we have to trust that what's happening underneath the surface of things, what's happening in the soil, really is making spring ready. That the snow's melting already into the ground is part of what it takes for next spring's growing. That attunement into slow time, that's our work to do too in our own lives, in our spiritual life, in our relationship lives, work lives, parenting lives. Change comes slow. We want it to happen faster. But change comes slow, millimeters at a time, inches at a time. Change comes slow, not all at once, but a thawing and then a freezing again, and another thaw. Again and again in ourselves, in our heart, in our spirit. Sometimes all in the same day, sometimes in weeks. And as we rest together in this moment, our work is to slow ourselves down into that rhythm. The rhythm of the season moving. The rhythm of our own growth. We'll be together in silence for a few moments. Each week in the service, we set aside time in ritual to make visible the unseen interconnections of our hopes, our concerns, our grief, our delight. So for you gathered in person, I invite you to come forward as you feel moved. We'll start with the back half of the room and the side before the front. And as you come forward, let your breath stay steady and your thinking slow down. Call to mind the sorrows and the joys which weigh you down and lift you up. And then silently take a stone, it's in token, in symbol of everything that's on your heart, and place it in the earth, resting in a community connected by the concerns we carry together. Please come forward as you feel moved.
listening. I am listening. Spirit, speak to me. My arms are wide open. My eyes are wide open to see what we will be. So I'm listening. I am listening. Spirit, speak to me.
Sometimes people say that Unitarian Universalists can just believe whatever we want, which is not really the case. Just because we don't have a creed that everyone has to believe just right doesn't mean that anything goes. The UU minister Mike Johnson explains it this way. They say, look, we don't believe in a God of anger. We don't believe that people are born evil. We don't believe that God loves some people and sends other people to hell. We don't believe that the Bible is the only place to find truth. We don't believe that you must obey the minister. I have suggestions. We don't. We don't believe that someone had to die to appease an angry God. I saw a post this week that said, for Lent this year, I'm giving up bad theology. But Reverend Johnson continues, they say, look, we do believe that love is somehow at the center of the universe, and those of us who believe in God believe in a God of love. We do believe that each person is important and lovable, and we're all part of one family. We do believe that each person must be free to search for what's true, using their mind and heart as well as the wisdom of others. We do believe that human beings can make a choice to follow their conscience and to live a life of service. We believe in a democracy of the Spirit, that each person has a share of wisdom and truth. We believe in the importance of community, that we learn and grow more by sharing with each other. This is a beautiful list and a long list, and really only the beginning of how we might express the things commonly believed among us. We're not united by a fixed and changeless creed of exactly what to believe and how, but we do have a shared set of values and commitments, and we keep on trying to find better ways to articulate that stuff. In the early 1980s, we came together to adopt the 7 principles, description of our values and commitments. And the place where these principles, these moral, ethical principles live, is Article 2 of the bylaws of the Unitarian Universalist Association. So those of you who came to church today for bylaws, that wasn't a joke. Anyways, the point is, they're in bylaws because this is a human collaborative process. One writer, another minister says, Moses did not come down from the mountain with 2 tablets of bylaws. The angel Gabriel did not reveal to the prophet of Islam a set of bylaws. But we Unitarian Universalists place our shared statement of principles within our bylaws. And we do this because we understand theology is a human creation. It's something we craft from our encounters with that which is greater than any of us and yet resides within all of us. And then we attempt to express something about it in our insufficient language, in human words. And of course, we do it in a way that can be edited by a 2/3 majority. And that's what's happening. For the last 3 years, the Unitarian Universalist Association has been in a massive process of proposing new revisions to our principles with input from thousands of people. It's not that our 7 principles, this current version, is bad. It's that over the 4 decades since we wrote these, we have grown tremendously. Many of us have mostly grown over the last 4 decades since we wrote these. And it's time to see if we can do a better job altogether describing the things commonly believed among us. So the new proposal names our shared values, these 6 different values, each one of which is an aspect of love. What they say is love is at the center of this, and love shows up as justice or transformation. Love takes form as pluralism, as interdependence. But at the center of all of that is love. The Commission revising put it this way. They said, as Unitarian Universalists, we covenant, we promise, congregation to congregation and through our association, to support and assist one another in our ministries. We draw from our heritages of freedom, reason, hope, and courage. We build on foundations of love. Love, they write, is that power that holds us together and is at the center of our shared values. We're accountable to one another for doing the work of living our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love. Now, when we talk about love at the center of our values, this is not the lovey-dovey, everyone is happy all the time love. It's not the saccharine, sweet love, which pretends that everything is great and suffering isn't real. Love is hard, right? Love that makes justice, love that touches the world. Love that says each of our souls touches divine mystery and we're on a journey together. Love is hard. And the invitation is to do it anyway. That lived love, that real love, makes room for all of who we are and who we're becoming. When folks come together on a Sunday morning, when you come maybe into this house looking for shelter from the storm, looking for a place to feel community and relief, to breathe, to sit down a minute, metaphorically, I think we can do that here because it is a place to feel all of who you are and all of who you are becoming. I think it feels like relief because you can come with grief and despair and loss and name it, plain, honest, out loud. Love takes off the masks we fear we can't live without. That's James Baldwin. Love takes off the masks that we fear we cannot live without and know we cannot live within. And he continues, he says, I use the word love here. Love takes off the masks, not merely in the personal sense, but as a state of being, a state of grace. Not, he says, the infantile American sense of being made happy, but in the tough and the universal sense of quest and daring and growth, of crossing open ocean. Quest and daring and growth, that doesn't have to look like big, loud boldness. Quest and daring and growth is quiet and internal and slow, too, as slow as the light changes. And that love is inseparable in the end, I believe, from spiritual experience, even if that's not exactly the name you might call it. But I think of the story of Thomas Merton, who's a Catholic monk and a mystic, who had this profound spiritual revelation in the middle of a sidewalk in Louisville, Kentucky. And it's so beautiful and simple. It is so ordinary and transcendent both at once. He writes this. He says, in Louisville, at the corner of 4th and Walnut, in the center of the shopping district, I was suddenly overwhelmed with the realization that I loved all of these people, that they were mine and I was theirs, that we could not be alien to one another, even though we were total strangers. It was like waking from a dream of separateness. The sense of liberation from illusory difference was such a relief, such a joy to me that I almost laughed out loud. If only everyone could realize this, but it can't be explained. There's no way of telling people that they're walking around shining like the sun. And then it was as if I suddenly saw the secret beauty of their hearts, the depths of their hearts, the core of their reality. If only we could see each other that way all the time. That's what it feels like when love is at the center. One of the ways that it feels, you know a piece of this too. Experiencing that we are not strangers, but dependent, interdependent on one another, tied into this vast network of life itself. The invitation, the spiritual discipline of love, is to live like that's really true, as much as we can. The oneness of humanity, the interconnection of every part and person to the whole. The folk singer Pete Seeger told the story of seeing a lone Quaker protester out protesting the Vietnam War late one night, early in the war, holding his sign on a corner entirely ignored by the people walking by. And Pete asked this guy, how are you going to change the world with one sign on the corner? And the young man paused and stood tall and said, I am here also to make sure that the world does not change me. That's what you do when love is at the center. You hold on tight to it and you tell the world it matters. We tend to the interior life exactly so that we can live in the world, so that we can help each in our way to heal it. And we come into this house to sing together and pray together and learn and tell stories and fellowship and drink coffee and invest ourselves into each other's lives as one community. And in all of this thing we're doing here, there's no consoling certainty. Tragedy happens. Out on the open sea, listening for the backbone wave underneath the noise and the chaos, you can't feel what life will be like when you reach that place. Who you'll become, who you'll meet. You can only listen with your whole body and spirit. Listen through the chaos of the world for that hidden wave that takes you to solid ground. That's the life that we're invited into. And here's the thing, I don't know where it will take you. But I know that love will not steer you wrong. Amen. Rise in body or spirit. Let's close in song.
Our closing hymn is number 1064, Blue Boat Home. For those of you who are musically literate, we have extended the intro and I will show you exactly where to sing. Though below me I feel no motion,
This month, we share our offering with the I Have a Dream Foundation of Boulder County, whose mission it is to partner with youth and their families as they successfully navigate school, college, and career by providing a holistic academic, social, and emotional program from elementary school through college, along with post-secondary scholarship assistance. The dream is a world where every child has equitable access to the education and opportunity that will guide their innate potential. They carry out our mission and vision through our many programs that include Dreamer Schools, Dreamer Scholars, Social Emotional Learning, Restorative Justice, College and Career, Advancing Families, and our STEM Community Center. I invite you to give as generously as you are able. And for those online, you can use the QR code or find a link in the video description. For those gathered in person, you can scan the QR code or make a donation as the ushers now pass the baskets. And may your gifts be used to enact justice, bringing peace and love to the Boulder community.
A little later this afternoon, I'll invite you to gather back here, if you like, at 12:30. Grab a bite to eat, some coffee first. We're going to continue this conversation about what does it mean for love to be at the center of our values. Truly is, how does that sit with you? What do you make of that? What does that even mean to you? Love is hard. Love that makes justice. Love that touches the world. Love that lives in the real world. Love that says each of our souls touches divine mystery, and we're on a journey together, and we don't know where it will all end up. Love is hard. Do it anyway. Will you rise and embody your spirit?